Welcome to all of you. We are going to call this meeting of the Wasatch Front Regional Council to order. We are getting started. Today, we welcome all of you for being here with us at this Wasatch Front Regional Council meeting. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2023.
Oh, we're asked to have you switch mics and just
And I'm switching.
keep it like 2 inches from your mouth.
Is that, oh, that's
better.
much better. Yes. Thank you. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here with us today. This is a meeting of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2023, and it is 2:02 p.m. We'll start with introductions of members of the Regional Council. We'll go around the table and then we'll have Andrea, ask Andrea, she'll let us know who all is online. So can we start over here with Commissioner Holbrook? Would you like to go first and we'll just go around the table?
Beth Holbrook, Utah Transit Authority.
Ari Bruning with Envision Utah.
Laura Hansen with the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget.
Monica Zoltansky, Sandy Mayor.
Jenny Wilson, Mayor, Salt Lake County.
Christy Overson, Taylorsville City Mayor.
Ted Knowlton, WFRC staff.
Bob Stevenson, Davis County.
Jeff Silvestrini, Mayor of Mill Creek.
Don Ramsey, Mayor of South Jordan.
I'm Andrew Gruber. I'm Executive Director here at Wasatch Front Regional Council, and Commissioner Ford is giving me some walk-up music. And welcome everybody to WFRC. Thanks for being here.
Andrea Pearson, WFRC staff.
Bob Dandoy, I'm at Roy City.
Carlton Christensen with the Utah Transit Authority. And if I can, Mayor, I'm going to send in both directions. Today we awarded, we have a student art competition and their art is in our transit. And we had 500 entries and these were the winners. And these are the pictures of the winners. I thought people would like to maybe see that about why they like transit and how they feel about their community. And it's from the state of the Utah. We go beyond our transit district for participants.
Love
so.
that. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I don't have such a fun presentation, but I'm the Mayor of Ogden, Mike Caldwell.
Mark Shepard, Mayor Clearfield City.
Joy Petro, Layton City.
Carlos Braceras, UDOT.
Scott Wardle, Tooele County.
Amy Winder Newton, Chair of the Salt Lake County Council.
Jordan Chandler, WFRC staff. Rosie Hernandez, WFRC staff.
Thank you. All right. Andrea, if you'll just give us a rundown of who we have with us online.
Those members that we have online, Lee Perry, Brandon Stanger, Mike Newton, Rob Dolly, Jim Harvey, Lauren Palmer, Lorene Koalu, Troy Walker, and Senator Wayne Harper.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. All right. Our first item is an action item, the minutes from our March 23rd, 2023 meeting and the financial statements and check registers for both February and March of this year and the budget expenditure report. Those have been sent. Anybody have any questions, comments, amendments, or can I get a motion to approve those?
Mayor Ramsey, Jeff Silvestrini, I'll make a motion to approve those matters on the consent.
Mayor
agenda.
Caldwell, I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving these, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved unanimously. Thank you. All right, it's my privilege to give a chair's report today, and so cool. Wasatch Front Regional Council was proud to be named Employer of the Year by the Women's Transportation Seminar, a leading professional organization for women who work in the transportation field in the public or private sectors. This award recognizes employers who have exhibited excellence in recruiting, retaining, and advancing women. And as you can see on the screen, I had the great pleasure of attending the WTS event. So nice to be invited. Very kind of you to invite me, where Wasatch Front Regional Council received this award. I had the privilege of making a few remarks and emphasize that right here at Wasatch Front Regional Council, this organization really does value women. Outcomes are never as good if they're one-sided. Good men and good women, talented professionals at the table come up with the best outcomes, and appreciate the Wasatch Front Regional Council and Andrew and Ted and your team and the great professionals who work here in the support of women in transportation that takes place here. It's been a privilege for me to see WFRC create this collaborative workplace with a strong culture that welcomes everyone. And so congratulations to everyone here at WFRC. Also, our Guiding Our Growth conversation. This is the statewide conversation about
Give
growth.
that some applause really quick.
I think so. A well-deserved honor. All right, Guiding Our Growth. This is the statewide conversation being spearheaded by the governor about how to address our ongoing growth challenges. Growth comes with opportunities and challenges. We all know that. And you are aware that those of us here at Wasatch Front Regional Council have been very supportive of this conversation. We've been asking for it and supporting for quite some time, and appreciate Laura Hanson and the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget for taking the lead on initiating this statewide conversation. I would strongly encourage everyone to please participate in this. There's a QR code up there. There's a website. Take this. You've had over 8,000. Laura, is it over 8,000? How many responses so far?
10,000.
10,000. Over 10,000 responses so far. You know, I've seen a couple of social media posts that have said, well, this is just, you know, trying to placate to the people. They don't care what we have to say. Or, you know, it won't change any outcomes, or, you know, whatever. And there's been a little bit of skepticism, and want you to know that this is a sincere request for people to weigh in and for Utahns to have a say in how we grow as a state, and what's important to you and to your community and to your family. And proud of this collaboration, and encourage everyone who is interested and willing to weigh in to please do so. And then I wish good luck to everybody who's reading all the comments and figuring out what that means, and trying to figure out how to implement some good ideas going forward. But there's a web address on the screen along with the QR code, and staff can also send some more information if you'd like to know how to reach out. But encourage everyone to please be part of this growth conversation.
And Mayor, to that point, in the materials we send out following this meeting, we'll provide information about Guiding Our Growth to everybody, so you can share it with your constituents as well.
All right, next, item 3 is our public comment period.
Laura gave us lapel pins for everybody about Guiding Our
Oh.
Growth. That's why Ted was gesturing at me. Okay,
Awesome, awesome.
here you go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I hadn't even seen, it was upside down here and I didn't even see it sitting here.
Thank you,
These
Laura.
pins represent the Guiding Our Growth conversation. So if you wear it, I mean, we've got Dina Blaze here from Salt Lake County, walked into a meeting today wearing hers. She's been wearing it everywhere. And people ask questions. What is that about? Laura wears hers everywhere. What is that about? It's about a conversation that we want Utahns to participate in. So awesome. Thank you. All right, this is the time that we will have our public comment portion of the meeting, and appreciate the members of the public for joining us here today. We've had extensive public comment throughout the process of developing our regional transportation plan over the last 4 years. Over 3,400 comments have been received over the course of this planning process about transportation issues across the entire Wasatch Front region. We know that there are several people here today who would like to offer comments specifically on Little Cottonwood Canyon. And just some information, some housekeeping, because there have been a lot of questions and interest in this topic. We have updated a frequently asked questions document that is available on our website. And do we have handouts about that as well?
We did hand those out.
Okay.
We did hand those out, and we shared them with you all in your materials for the meeting. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Given the recent public comment opportunities, which we have tried to make as available as possible, today we're going to take 20 minutes of public comments. We're going to give every person 1 minute, and 15 minutes for people here in the room, and 5 minutes for anyone joining us online who would like to speak. If you'd like to offer a 1 minute public comment, we've got a line over there already. We'd ask that you line up, and I would ask, so that as many people as possible can be heard, if you are here as part of an organization and one person wants to speak for that organization, you can tell us how many people you have here that you're speaking on behalf of and representing. But we just want to make sure that as many people as possible have the chance to speak. So we'll also ask Rosie to keep time for us, just so we can hear from as many as possible. I start every public comment at our city council meeting with this disclaimer, and I'm going to do it here. This is just the way I roll. We're proud of how we do things here in Utah, proud of how we do things here at the Wasatch Front Regional Council. And I want to make a commitment on behalf of all of us here at the table and those online who are part of the council of respect and decorum, and ask the same of everyone here. There's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of passion with very good reason. And my request is that we don't let that passion cross over into disrespect, personal attacks. Let's be productive. We all want to get to the best outcomes for what happens across our region and in this valley. And we might have different views of what that looks like. We might have the same views about what that looks like, but let's work collaboratively and constructively and respectfully as we share our comments, so we can work to try to get there together. That would be my ask and my commitment on behalf of all of us. So with that, I will now open the public comment period of time. And
Mayor, excuse me, could you make a note about how people online can speak up?
yes, after we have our first 15 minutes here in person, we'll go online. And if you're online, which we've encouraged as many people as possible to join online, just since we have limited space here, so we might have quite a few online. If you're interested in speaking and you're online, please use the raise your hand option. And we'll take the first 5 people who express interest, and then we'll ask you to turn your camera on. And the same thing applies. Please give us your name, tell us where you're from for the public record, and we'll have Andrea call your name online. In the meantime, we'll ask for your name and let us know where you're from. Turn the time over to our first person. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Better. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. My name is Nathan Rafferty. I'm the president CEO of Ski Utah. I represent all 15 ski areas here in the state. You know, if there's one thing that I think just about everybody in this room can agree with, is that there is a problem with traffic in Little Cottonwood Canyon. There's no silver bullet solution. If that was the case, we would have solved this issue a long time ago. When Little Cottonwood Canyon breaks, as it did many times this winter, it has ripple effects around the Wasatch. Big Cottonwood Canyon breaks, it affects Park City, and it affects Snow Basin. I'm advocating today in support of the Gondola B option as identified by UDOT in their preferred solution. But more importantly than being in favor of one specific solution, I'm here to show my support for the process that I believe UDOT has been very diligent about. That's all I've got. I do want to take 5 seconds and give a shout out to the UDOT snow removal team. In fact, anybody who lifted a shovel this winter and 900
Thank you
inches
for
of
your
snow later.
comments. Your time's up.
Thank you. Okay, to be clear, we are clapping for the UDOT people, not for or against any comments. And that's actually outside of protocol, usually in a chamber like this, but agreed. Thank you to the UDOT teams for all of their efforts and all of our snow removal people. All right, go ahead. Thanks.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity to stand up in front of you all today. My name is Mason Daly, and I am here representing Patagonia in our stance against the gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon. Patagonia has over 25 employees and many partners who live in and recreate in Little Cottonwood Canyon. Our stance was shaped by friends and colleagues who know and care about the area deeply and see the gondola as a local issue, many of whom are standing behind me today. We've worked with grassroots organizations for years to protect special places around the world, including when a similar project was proposed in the Tyrol Valley in Austria. That development was ultimately defeated via referendum by local townspeople who recognized what was at stake. Today, we are calling on this council for a solution that preserves the landscape and utilizes infrastructure already in place to ease traffic in the area and does not threaten watersheds, alter the natural landscape, or chip away at protections granted by the roadless rule, like the gondola would. We hope that all parties can approach
Thank you for
this
your
problem
comment, Mason.
in
Your
good
time's
faith
up.
and select the option that best serves the area and the people of Salt Lake Valley. Thank you.
My name is Jess Powell, and I'm here representing Black Diamond Equipment, a local business that makes climbing, backcountry skiing, and trail running gear. And I'm here to voice the company's opposition to the gondola. Since we opened our doors in 1989, Little Cottonwood Canyon has been an integral part of our product testing, our community connection, and our company culture. The solution proposed by UDOT fails to consider the negative impacts on the community that we serve, a community that uses LCC not just during the winter, but all year for climbing, running, and hiking. We believe that as a business, the economic stimulus of this dispersed recreation in Salt Lake City has been undervalued thus far in UDOT reports. Because we are part of this community, it is our responsibility to protect these wild places we call home. We believe there is a more equitable solution through implementing an enhanced bus system on the roads we already have, paired with tolling and limited parking reservations. Today, we ask this council to respect the protections of the roadless rule, protect the nation's first historical climbing district, keep our watershed clean, and use responsible solutions to solve the traffic problem in LCC by removing the gondola from the regional transportation plan. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Fields. I'm President and General Manager at Snowbird. This winter demonstrated better than ever the need for a transportation system in Little Cottonwood Canyon that is not exclusively reliant on vehicles on a highway. The amazing UDOT avalanche and plow team spent the winter battling Mother Nature so the vehicles could drive up the road, at times putting themselves in great peril. Road closures due to avalanches, wet slides, and mudslides created historic impacts on the people who recreate and work in Little Cottonwood Canyon. I appreciate the time and thoroughness UDOT has taken to find the right transportation system that will ultimately provide access to your public lands, including the most popular backcountry ski trailhead in the canyon across the street from the proposed Alta terminal. I encourage the Wasatch Front Regional Council to include Little Cottonwood Canyon and the proposed gondola in the regional transportation plan. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jason Hughes Erickson. I'm representing Wasatch Backcountry Alliance, and I'm a proud resident of Sandy. I would like to discuss the 10 goals of the Wasatch Front Regional Council, specifically quality transportation choices and fiscally responsive communities and infrastructure. The mobility hubs and buses align with both of them, whereas the gondola violates both of them. We would like to see $1 billion in savings. So we want to see transportation equity for all. The bus and mobility hub systems allow with a 50% expansion as listed in the Wasatch Front Regional Council past west of 15. This provides access to many different communities so we can have economic development. The gondola forces a bottleneck at the base of Wasatch Boulevard and would exacerbate the current problem. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Quiriquit. I've lived in the shadow of these beautiful mountains my entire life. I stand here before you on behalf of the opinions of myself, my friends, my colleagues at backcountry.com. We are one of the largest employers in this valley with over 1,000 employees that live in this valley and is a major retailer in the outdoor industry. We stand firmly opposed to the proposed gondola construction, the world's most expensive gondola. This proposed gondola would primarily service 2 private ski resorts while jeopardizing climbing areas, trails, or pristine watershed in the beautiful, majestic environment that is Little Cottonwood Canyon. The estimated cost of this $1.5 billion gondola will be footed primarily by the taxpayer and benefit primarily to private ski areas and their limited audience. This canyon and the surrounding wilderness has been a playground and home for recreationalists, locals, and the native people of this area for more than 150 years. This canyon is not only a recreation for sanctuary, but also a place to explore. We are asking that the solution of the gondola be removed from a potential consideration as a transportation option for Little Cottonwood Canyon in the future.
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Sanderson. I'm representing myself. Over the past few months, I've filed multiple grandma requests to UDOT. What I have found is disturbing but not surprising, as the EIS prepared by UDOT has many faults. There's too many to discuss today, but I'm going to demonstrate 2 of them. UDOT has failed to include the cost of the base property required for the gondola. While there have been verbal statements that the land will be donated, to my knowledge, there's no written agreement. Such statements and the lack of that in the EIS taints it. The second is the capital cost for the bus service. UDOT has artificially inflated the cost by assuming that all buses will be needed on day 1. That is not correct. These are just two examples of the faulty analysis that has tainted the EIS process. Had appropriate cost analysis been performed, we would not be having this discussion today. Utah has seen this before with UDOT's EIS of the Legacy Highway. I firmly believe we're on the same pathway. We're going to see a lawsuit. Nothing is going to get done until the lawsuit is resolved. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Emily Pitch. I think it would be responsible to exclude the gondola from the RTP until UDOT comes out with their final record of decision, because at this point, you don't even know what you're consenting to. And if the council does not have the authority to remove the gondola from the RTP, it would be beneficial for the public to know what statutes exist that require y'all to include this incomplete EIS project. Even if your constituents are not here today, I believe you can use your best judgment to determine if somebody in Weber or Davis counties, for example, would rather pay for infrastructure to help them get to work instead of a gondola that they likely will never ride. So who are you here to represent? UDOT or the people who gave you this power and trusted that you would make decisions for them? Thank you.
Hello, my name's Brad Rutledge. I know a lot of you, and I've spoken with a lot of you in the last couple of months during all of this. I was trying to think what would be persuasive in this moment, right? You know, this final moment to enact you to do something. There's been tens of thousands of comments against the gondola. People have illustrated that. I shared with you a gondola myths document. And I want to take a different approach. People are really losing faith in government. I think we see that across the country. And this is truly an opportunity for the Wasatch Front Regional Council to step up and do something different. And I want to say that I've heard people say that the process is broken. So all of the elected officials that are going to be most impacted by this have said no, yet we're moving forward. The people who most use Little Cottonwood Canyon have said no, yet we're still moving forward. There's an opportunity for you today to step up and be brave and say, this process is broken. Therefore, I'm going to vote to remove this. Let's fix the process.
Thank you for your comments. Your time's up.
The stakes are too high. Little Cottonwood Canyon is too beautiful of an icon worldwide to just say, well, we're stuck in a committee and these are the rules. UDOT, that's not accountable to anyone for this, is going to just push this through. That's wrong. Please step up and be a hero, please.
Hi, my name is Carl Fisher with Save Our Canyons. This past week, we've had a petition going. Over 2,800 people from in the Wasatch Front Regional Council region have signed this petition urging you to take the gondola out of the RTP. I have that information for you. I'd like to leave for you today. Here's kind of a distribution of some of those points. You can see the WFRC boundary there in pink. Your communities, your constituents are telling you to take this ask. They're asking you to take this out. This is an important issue. As you walked in today, you saw postcards from school children and families who could not make it today, but still wanted to have their voice heard. We're trying to be the messenger of that, and we're asking you to take this out of the plan. It is not illegal to take it out of the plan, to vote against the gondola. And if you cannot take it out, move it to the unfunded phase for phase 4. And let's work together on solving our canyon's problems.
I'm Pat Shea. I am the lawyer for Friends of Alta, and I'm here in my individual capacity today. I taught a course for 2 years at Westminster College on civil disobedience, and it's been 50 years since I exercised that right, and I intend to exercise it today. I'm going to be very peaceful and respectful, but it is important for you as elected officials to think of the decision you're making and the long-term impact. For instance, with the 29 counties, the $1.4 billion that engineers estimate this is going to cost, $4,827,000 would go to each of the counties. there are approximately 253 cities and towns, and they would each get $500,000 if the $1.4 billion was spent for proper purposes. So with all due respect, I will disrupt in a quiet way. If you want me removed.
Pat, your time is up. You may be seated.
Well, we're going to move on to our next speaker. We want to make sure we hear from as many as possible. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Julia Geisler. I'm the Executive Director of the Salt Lake Climbers Alliance, and on behalf of the 20,000 climbers here in the Wasatch, we would again respectfully request that the council remove the gondola from the RTP proposal. Vote to remove that now. If it's not removed, we respectfully request that you issue what evaluation criteria and timeline will be put in place to approve the gondola as phase 3. The Lower Little Cottonwood is a new National Historic District listed in the Federal Registry. I invite you all to get out there right now. It's beautiful. Go see Lower Little Cottonwood because this is going to forever impact that beautiful landscape and that view shed. So please get out, experience the Lower Canyon. Thank you.
Chris McCandless, CW Management Corporation, and been a city councilman. I've worn a lot of hats. Today, I'm not here to try and convince somebody or any of you to change your minds. I don't think anybody's going to change their mind today. What I want to talk about is that with the existing EIS that's in place today, it calls for buses in the beginning and to be able to utilize that mass transit system to try and work into the program. And then if needed, use the gondola. Now that is all contingent upon the record of decision being filed by UDOT. I like options. I've been in business my whole life, it seems. And I would hate to take away the work that UDOT has done and this community and say, let's not have the gondola there. Let's just have the bus. What happens if the bus doesn't work? Then we got to start all over again. And I really don't want to do that because this has been a hard fought and great fight.
Chris, thank you for your comments. Your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and appreciate the opportunity to express maintaining options, and that would be to keep
it. Excuse me. I'm Roger Burke, Mayor of Alta. We tell ourselves that we live in a democracy. In a democracy, the will of and the preference of the people is supposed to have some sway. With respect to the gondola, the will of the people has been expressed in comments to the EIS, and they are overwhelmingly against it. There might be more people in favor of the gondola if it actually solved the traffic problem, but it doesn't. But it remains on the books, apparently for bureaucratic reasons. Do we really want to prioritize the preference of the bureaucracy over the preference of the people? Should the bureaucracy have more sway than the people? Is that really what democracy is about? Some politician once said, there go my people. I'm their leader, so I must get in front of them. Okay, leaders, get out in front. The people, it's clear where they're going. You should go there too.
Just really quick, want to note that you are number 15 here in person. So when you're done, we'll transition to anyone online. Go ahead.
Lucky me.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. For those of you I don't know, my name is Nate Bluen. I represent District 13 in the Utah State Senate. I still get nervous to speak at these things, so here we go. You know, I heard my constituents loud and clear. They don't want the gondola. I've heard this from across the district. I represent Sugar House, South Salt Lake, Mill Creek, Murray, and a little bit of West Valley City. As elected officials, we're asked to make tough decisions every day, and there's an opportunity to do so today. There are so many questions left to be answered about the costs and the benefits of the proposed gondola And moving forward with this proposal today just increases the chances that this is going to get railroaded by my colleagues through the legislature, despite deep local opposition. So there's no reason to push forward with this decision today. Let's hit pause. Let's focus on urgent projects that could be funded with the billions that we are ready to spend on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to transition to online, but if we have less than 5, I'll come back so that we can get to our 20.
There's 3 of us left.
including him.
I know, but we're going to online right now, and if we have less than 5, I'll come back. How many do we have online? We have 2 online, so we'll have room for 3 more. I'll let the 4 of you speak after we do our 2 online. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Andrea.
Paige DeBrow.
Hi, yes, my name is Paige DeBrow. I'm a resident of Cottonwood Heights and a local recreator in the Wasatch, and I am opposed to the gondola. I have concerns regarding the way the massive project will affect residents and resources in the area in and around the canyon, such as watersheds, increased local traffic, and destruction of climbing areas and scenic views in Little Cottonwood. I'm also concerned by the cost that would be imposed on citizens for the benefit of corporate ski resorts. This plan does not appear to account for the economic value of the natural resources that would be negatively impacted by the construction of a gondola. The gondola also does nothing to address similar issues in Big Cottonwood Canyon and other recreational areas. The gondola does not appear to do anything to improve access to public lands beyond the ski resorts. I believe the inclusion of the gondola in the regional transportation plan would be financially and environmentally irresponsible. The regional council should focus instead on utilizing opportunities to create less environmentally impactful, more immediate and more practical improvements to create equitable access to the canyons for all. And the people do not want the gondola.
Cale Weston.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just would echo what has been said before, but I think the real test for all of you today, and you're in a tough position, is whether or not you're going to listen to the people. And I would just encourage you to take stock of where we are. There is a big gap in our state when it comes to representation. I think we all know the long story about gerrymandering and people not feeling like they're being listened to. So I hope that you err on the side of listening to the people on this issue, that you do not put this into the proposal, and that we slow this down. So thank you for all the hard work you do. And every time I pass a bus stop, I'm thinking about the people at that bus stop who are going to their 3rd job, and their tax dollars, I think, can be better spent on pothole repairs and not on a gondola. Thank you.
Thank you, Cale. Seeing that we have no one else online, we'll let you 4 go. Go ahead. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Roman Fisher. I'm 16 years old and I go to Alta High School. And I am here today to ask all of you to vote against the gondola. I've been going up in that canyon since I can remember, and I find it quite ridiculous that nobody is listening to us when so many people are asking you to vote against the gondola. The environmental what it's going to do to the environment is going to be catastrophic. If you move it 2 feet over, it doesn't work. The drilling into it is going to affect our watershed. It's quite ridiculous. Are we here to make rich people richer, or are we here to listen to the people? All I'm asking for you guys is to just do what you were elected to do and listen to us. Thanks.
I'm short. My name is Savannah McCauley and I'm a Cottonwood Heights resident, but I'm also a Park City ski patroller. This may not be my resort that's threatening this environment, but I will say as somebody who works here and moved to Utah for the ski industry, it's a massive disgrace to be considered or to be considering this. This environment is what brings us income. It directly affects me. It brings my income in. The Wasatch is incredibly important. And as a ski industry, it is our job to protect the area that brings us income and jobs. It is not for sale. It is not here to be utilized for personal benefit for 2 major resorts. It is for the people and it belongs to us, not to UDOT or anybody else. So I highly encourage you to please consider to please scrap this. We're tired of talking about this over and over again. Please get rid of it.
Good afternoon. My name is Jill Font. I live in Holiday. And the pessimist in me said, Jill, what are you driving down there for and spending money on gas and parking when nothing's going to happen anyway? The optimist in me, however, said, I smell a rat. And if I smell a rat, I'm hoping that some of you smell it too. I don't understand why we're talking about allocating $1.4 billion to benefit two privately held businesses. The Wasatch Front is the golden goose. It's the reason why many of us live here. It's where we recreate. It's our golden goose. It's the reason why a lot of people move to Utah and specifically to Salt Lake City. So if we can't rely on our elected officials to protect our golden goose, on whom can we rely? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Ivory Mattingly. I'm a citizen of Little Cottonwood Canyon for 34 years, and I have to say, $500 million. Can I hear that? $500 million, okay? $500 million public dollars, okay? What could you do with $500 million? The first thing I would say is no gondola, no way. I'd also say no widening the road, no way. What could you do with $500 million? Well, maybe first thing you could do is eliminate private cars completely. In addition to that, you could possibly go with the reservation system, as we've seen this year going up Little Cottonwood Canyon. A bunch of vans. $500 million could buy a lot of vans. It also could, if properly invested, capitalize the operational costs. So you'd have rock climbers that would still be happy. You'd have skiers that would still be happy. You might have two resorts that are somewhat unhappy, but it would be for the greater good. If we
Sir,
simply-
thank you for your comments. Your
Thank you.
time's up.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have a request here from Mayor Zoltansky, who does not serve on the council. She's the mayor of Sandy City and serves on our regional growth committee. And out of respect for her role as mayor of the city of Sandy, we're going to give her 1 minute as well. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As mayor of Sandy, I've seen firsthand the effects of traffic in my local community and the canyon and the region as a whole. As member of the Regional Growth Committee, I presented a motion last week to delist the gondola from the Regional Transportation Plan. I still think that's the right way to go. That did not pass by just a very narrow majority, 6-5 vote. It was defeated. Sending this to the to the WFRC panel body as a whole with the recommendation, the statement of intent that phase 1 and phase 2 are fully funded, aggressively funded, expedited, so that like in Sandy, what we did this year, local solutions can be implemented and evaluated for moving forward in a productive manner, and that the gondola is not an assumption. It may be included as a regrettable inclusion for procedural purposes, but it should not be interpreted by anyone that this is a done deal. And with the council's recommendation, with the statement of intent that phase 1 and phase 2 is fully funded, that is a workable way to go. It incorporates the intention of what most of us in this room agree on, is that the answers are found on a local level. They're found by people who are highly invested on a day-to-day basis, and they are found in phase 1 and phase 2 of the RTP and the EIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Okay. Before we go on, Pat, I appreciate your respectfulness, and I'm going to ask now if you wouldn't mind please taking your seat so we can move on with the meeting. My understanding is that you came to this meeting with a desire to be escorted out. Is that accurate? My understanding is that's up to you. You're welcome to have a seat, or you can be escorted out, but I was told that was your intention, was your hope was to be escorted out. We would ask that you sit down. Otherwise, you'll be escorted out. Thank you. All right, item 4, thank you to everyone who spoke, everyone who was here, and thank you again for the respectful dialogue, for the opportunity to share and be heard and to value various opinions. Appreciate you. All right, item 4, we have a report from the Regional Growth Committee. Mayor Bob Dandoy is going to give us that report, Chair of the RGC. Mayor
Thank
Dandoy.
you, Chair Ramsey. We just have one action item today. And so I just want to talk about the action items, adopt the adoption of the 2023 through 2050 Regional Transportation Plan and the Air Quality Memorandum number 41. Now, the Regional Transportation Plan, or we refer to it, and you heard it today, was the RTP, charts a course for the next 30 years for regional roads, transit, and trails. Today, we are being asked to approve that RTP. Now, the RTP includes over 1,000 different projects. Let me repeat that, 1,000 different projects across this entire region. Getting to this point is a culmination of a very involved and collaborative process over the previous 4 years. This involves cities, counties, UDOT, UTA, and a broad variety of stakeholders. Last week, the Regional Growth Committee unanimously recommended approving the RTP. That recommendation was accompanied by a statement, Mayor, and you were spot on, and I appreciate that statement, of the intent with regard to the Little Cottonwood Canyon that we will explain shortly. Before we consider a motion, Council, Jory Joyner, the Wasatch Front Regional Council Long Range Planning Manager, is going to help us understand what the draft plan is and what it means to our region. I'll ask that this council members please hold your questions and comments until Jory finishes his presentation. Jory?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, appreciate everybody here in attendance and your help throughout our planning process. Second, would love to thank the rest of the WFRC staff. We have about 30 staff members here who have worked on this for the last 4 years, and I truly appreciate their hard work working on this. Our long range planning group worked on this. I think I calculated last night like 35,000 hours over the last 4 years. So we've got some time into this and appreciate that. So at the end of this presentation, my goal is that you understand what the Regional Transportation Plan is, the collaborative process used to develop the plan, and what it means for transportation in our region. So the Wasatch Choice Vision ties economic development, land use, and transportation together. I'll be focusing on the transportation piece, specifically the Regional Transportation Plan. The Regional Council developed and adopted the 10 goals you see on the right side of your screen. These, which of course include having quality transportation choices and access to economic and educational opportunities. These goals were used throughout the entire regional transportation process, and these goals are used in everything we do here at WFRC. All of our programs, all of our planning refer to these 10 goals. The RTP is multimodal. It includes roadways, transit, and active transportation, walking and biking. It's coordinated with UDOT, UTA, and local communities. You can see here a variety of types, mode types in the plan, from arterials, core bus routes, and separated trails. The RTP is the official transportation plan for the region, and it includes, as the mayor mentioned, over 1,000 projects within the plan. The RTP is developed on a 4-year cycle, has a financial plan, and is fiscally constrained. It conforms to applicable controls, goals, and budgets for on-road mobile sources, as documented in the Air Quality Conformity Memorandum number 41, and ties to your land use plans and the Wasatch Choice Vision. The RTP is divided into phases, each about a decade long, for both identifying when projects are needed and when funding is expected to be available between now and 2050. The RTP is the starting place for projects to move forward for prioritization for federal, state, and local funds. We've worked on this plan for the last 4 years, as I've made mention. First, exploring external forces and policies like connected and autonomous vehicles, telecommuting, micromobility, signal priority for transit, road usage charges, and street connectivity. We've developed a draft preferred scenario project list needed by 2050, then identified when projects were needed by phase, and ultimately fiscal constraining the plan. Finally, we have concluded our public comment period and comment review, documented the RTP process, and drafted the air quality conformity determination, and now are ready for adoption. We have received more than 3,400 comments during the entirety of the RTP planning process. These came through our fall workshops, technical advisory committees, stakeholder meetings, and public comment periods. We appreciate all the input we've received and our working relationship with UDOT and UTA and the communities to review these comments. Most recently, as you recall, we went out to public comment following the January Wasatch Front Regional Council meeting. We received over 1,600 comments in that comment period. And as you would expect, it took us a little bit of time to get through those. We only had a handful of technical corrections to projects based on requests from the project sponsors since we put that plan out for public comment. Given the interest in Little Cottonwood Canyon, we prepared a frequently asked question sheet about the relationship between RTP and the EIS. You can access it if you'd like by using this QR code, and I believe it was also within your packets as well. In summary, it explains that WFRC, as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or an MPO, is required to include the RTP all regionally significant transportation elements currently identified in an EIS or other NEPA environmental processes. The MPO is then responsible for verifying that the RTP with the EIS elements included satisfies regional air quality conformity and fiscal requirements. This is pursuant to federal regulations, legal guidance, and decades of consistent practice. So for the Little Cottonwood Canyon, the draft 2023 to 2050 regional transportation plan shows all the phases from UDOT's final EIS, including in phase 1, which is the next 10 years, increased bus service, tolling, and road widening. This was just funded with $150 million from the state this last legislative session. In phase 2, the avalanche snow sheds. And in phase 3, after 2043, the gondola and base station parking. The RTP does not approve or provide funding for the gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon, nor does it allocate future funding for the project. So it simply reflects the EIS at this point. If the EIS for Little Cottonwood Canyon changes, the RTP will also reflect those changes. Public comments are one component of our planning process, but as you can see through the review of those external forces, input from local communities, transportation partners, and stakeholders, updates to the Wasatch Choice vision, including population and employment projections, and utilizing project evaluation process and the Wasatch Choice goals, we've improved upon the 2019 Regional Transportation Plan quite a bit. So in these maps, you'll see improvements and changes for roadway and transit projects that ultimately were reflected in 2023. So new projects are noted in green there. Removing projects in yellow, which some of those were under construction or currently or built. And anything in blue are projects that have been updated. So that includes updates to phases, project types, extents, modifications to the extents of a project. So kind of a catch-all for any changes to the project. We didn't include active transportation on this map because there were so many lines that it'd be hard to see. But the 2023 to 2050 plan now includes a phased, financially constrained active transportation project list across the region. So that's the first time we've done that in our planning processes. We have an interactive map available with additional information for each project. Julie and I want to show you a few projects examples and how to view the information about the project. So Julie's opened up the interactive map here. For example, the first, the continuation of West Davis Corridor in Davis and Weber counties. It's a 4-lane divided highway providing regional and local connectivity and access to jobs and households. And it also serves as an alternate to I-15. So as you can see here, Julie can click on the project.
In the bottom part of the screen, you'll see the project information. You click on it and all the information about the project will pop up about the project. The next project is a planned 90th South overpass, overhead pedestrian bike crossing, in Sandy. The project will better connect residents on both sides of State Route 209 or 90th South, increasing access to stores and services. So you can see that there, Julie's clicked on it. Additionally, public transit riders will experience increased speed and frequency on Front Runner with planned strategic double tracking of the commuter rail line across the whole Wasatch Front. These are just 3 examples of over the 1,000 projects within this plan, but wanted to give you a little bit of, walk you through how to use the interactive map. It's a really valuable tool. WFRC's worked with the other 3 MPOs in the state, along with UDOT and UTA, develop the Utah's Unified Transportation Plan's financial model. This model identified reasonable revenue assumptions and estimates for long-range plans. As noted before, and as you all know, there's never enough funding for all of our needs. Our plan includes over $34 billion of active transportation, roadway, and transit needs, and we only expect a little bit over $26 billion of revenue available for those projects. So although all the needs are not met, we recognize our transportation funding is very robust, reflecting significant commitments from our state and local governments, along with our federal funding. I want to now cover a few performance measures comparing today to implementing the 2023 Regional Transportation Plan and the Wasatch Choice Vision. The metrics that follow are a function of how land use in the Wasatch Choice Vision, including the centers, work with the regional transportation system. One measure is access to opportunity, or ATO, if you hear that acronym. The average household can get to over 30% more jobs than driving than they can today. While transit, the average transit user can get to over 70% more jobs utilizing the RTP transit network than they can today with the local system. Another measure is residential access to nearby bikeways. Access would increase by over 40% from today with the RTP active transportation facilities in our plan. In summary, we're growing fast. We need to invest a lot. We have regional transportation plan. It has a multimodal balance, road, transit, trails. It was developed with lots of community and partner engagement, especially about the relationship between transportation and land use. And the RTP will improve mobility and quality of life along the region. So within your packets, you have an updated RTP document or a link to the document, link to the air quality memorandum, and a link to the interactive map. Should be noted that both of the Regional Growth Committee technical advisory committees made up of local community and transportation partner planners reviewed the 2023 to 2050 Regional Transportation Plan and unanimously recommended approval at the end of April. The Regional Growth Committee also unanimously recommended approval at their May 18th meeting. RGC, as this has been mentioned, Mayor, recommended including a statement of intent to accompany the motion with regards to Little Cottonwood Canyon EIS, that the WFRC supports prioritizing phase 1 and 2 and implementation and evaluation of phase 1 and 2 before advancing to phase 3. Mayor Dandoy, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to entertain any questions from the committee.
Good rundown. Thank you, Jory. Council, any comments, questions for Jory? Please.
More a comment, and and I think the slide that Ari pointed out about 73% greater with improvements to transit, that 73% more availability for employment. And I've appreciated in the 4.5 years I've been serving the state stepping up in a significant way to improve transit, provide additional funding. We've historically been reliant on local and federal funds and certainly remain so. But that investment, I think, and as we look at a long-term plan, certainly will better our region. So appreciate the work that's been done.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to turn this back here in a second to the chairperson. Let her go ahead and entertain comments and questions. Jory, thank you. Okay. And I want a special thanks to all of the Wasatch Front Regional Council staff who have worked hard, okay, to make this happen. This is a 4-year journey. Certainly, there's been a lot of people engaged, both city, counties, certainly UTA, UDOT. This is a collaborative effort from a lot of individuals, and we couldn't be more appreciative of that. As Jory noted, the Regional Growth Committee last week, we had a robust conversation about the RTP and particularly about the Little Cottonwood Canyon environmental impact study. At that meeting, a motion was made, and I certainly want to make sure we get recognition because there certainly was a strong effort. There was, in that meeting, a motion was made by Mayor Zakransky of Sandy City and seconded by Mayor Wilson. And she's obviously from Salt Lake County, to remove the gondola from the RTP. That motion did not pass. I think you eloquently stated how that was very narrow vote, and but it did not pass. In the discussion about the motion, it was noted the Wasatch Front does not have the authority. This came out clearly in the meeting. Did not have the authority to pick or choose elements of the environmental impact study. We were required by federal regulation to include all EIS results in the RTP. Doing otherwise, as it was explained, would jeopardize the entire RTP and could impact the transportation projects in our entire region. It also explained by UDOT, and it was explained by UDOT that the entire EIS must include, in order for them to proceed with phase 1, specifically the bus enhancement and tolling issue that are being broadly supported, that it needed to include that. And that's the funding the legislators provided to the tune of $150 million to help address this very complex and difficult issue. Now, the Regional Growth Committee that committee basically unanimously voted to support this RTP, but it was really predicated on a powerful comment, Mayor, that you made in helping to find unification in a difficult time. And it was right on. It helped us. And to the end product of what you did and what you provided to this effort brought the entire committee together to say, yes, we could support this based on the very statement as it was stated there. And I'll read that to you. The Wasatch Front Regional Council supports prioritizing of phase 1 and 2 and the implementation evaluation of phase 1 and 2 before advancing to phase 3. It was inspiring. You did well. I believe this is the very appropriate and reasonable approach and recommend that the council move forward in that manner. Therefore, Chairman Ramsey, that concludes the Regional Growth Committee's presentation, and I am happy to make a motion that the Wasatch Front Regional Council adopt the final phase and financial constrained 2023 through 2050 Regional Transportation Plan and approve the Air Quality Memorandum 41 conforming determination, and also add, as it was eloquently stated, that we also place the Wasatch Front supports prioritizing the phase 1 and phase 2 and the implementation and evaluation of phase 1 and 2 before advancing to phase 3. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. We have a motion and
You got him.
you got a second right here?
Second by Bob.
Second by Bob. Okay, we're going to have some discussion. We have a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, and I will be offering a substitute at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn to Mr. Braceras with UDOT first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was asked to comment on whether or not I'm comfortable with the statement of intent. I am absolutely comfortable with the statement of intent. It absolutely reflects the intent. Sorry, I have to wear this mask. It absolutely reflects what's stated in the EIS And it's absolutely consistent with how the long-range plan process works here at the Wasatch Front Regional Council. So completely comfortable with this. And I would like to state that as a Department of Transportation, we received, you heard the $150 million, but we were also appropriated. There's a fund that's been set up by the legislature called the CCTIF, the Cottonwood Canyon Transportation Investment Fund, that receives up to $20 million per year. And the money's been going into there for various couple of years. We also received an additional $50 million appropriated out of that fund. So we have a total of $200 million. We're hoping to be able to scrape together more, but our intent is to be able to implement I'll say portions of phase one, which is in the EIS, because there's not enough money to do all of phase one. But the piece to buy as many buses as we can for both Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon, to build the mobility center at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon, and to toll both those canyons. And we're committed to make that work. It's in our best interest to take that investment and to make that work. And so I hope that, we have this step to go through with this vote. And then the next step will be issuing of the record decision. And once we have that record decision, we'll be able to proceed as quickly as possible to implement those solutions. And we're excited to be able to do something that will absolutely make a difference in the canyon. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mayor Silvestrina, go ahead.
So thank you, Mayor Ramsey. I guess I don't know if there are any other lawyers on this council or not, but I am one, and I've worked with Andrew and the council's attorneys at Stoll Reeves with respect to this issue, which has been super troublesome. There is no doubt about the fact that we've heard the public loud and clear that they would prefer that we take the gondola out of the EIS and approve the RTP without it. Unfortunately, after carefully considering the federal regulations that govern this body's development and approval of the RTP, and furthermore, what may be more significant, the approval of the RTP by the Federal Highway Administration, which is a necessary step that comes after our action on this. Federal law and regulations do not allow this body to remove an element of the EIS, which is a regionally significant transportation project. And if we were to do that, it would jeopardize approval of the RTP. It's tough to know what exactly is going to unfold in terms of an appeal of the decision here. But what we do know, and not only have we heard this from our council, but we've also confirmed this with officials of the Federal Highway Administration, that if this body were to take the gondola out of the RTP, that Federal Highways would not approve it, and that likely it would delay all of these 1,000 projects that our region needs to meet the growth pressures that we're facing. These projects address congestion and mitigation of that congestion. They address transit improvement, and they address air quality. And those are all other priorities that we need to keep in mind as we consider this issue. And, this is a difficult decision for me as mayor of a city that is right up against the canyons. And I know that a lot of my residents do not favor the gondola. Okay, it's loud and clear to me about that. But the attempting to exclude the gondola under these circumstances would delay the RTP, which I think is the wrong thing for our region. And it also would delay or jeopardize the implementation of the phase one and phase two improvements, the busing, the tolling, the demand management. And I think, from the comments that I've heard here and from the comments that I've heard as a member or commissioner on the Central Wasatch Commission, I think most people would like to see a phased approach that attempts to solve the congestion problem in Little Cottonwood Canyon, which you all recognize exists, with busing or other alternatives like tolling, demand management. And this approval of the RTP with the EIS intact is the quickest way to unlock the money that the legislature has already appropriated, that $150 million to get buses running in Little Cottonwood Canyon. And that is an important thing. And I think given the fact that the Regional Growth Committee unanimously recommended this with a statement of intent, which I fully support, I don't think we have any alternative but to do that. And I'll just say this, this is an issue where a lot of people have strong feelings. And what we're really being asked to do, unfortunately, as local officials, is to say, take bold action. Don't follow the federal law that governs RTPs. Exclude the gondola, damn the torpedoes, okay? Well, I can just tell you that the last thing that the public really wants, it sounds great when it's your issue, okay? But the last thing that the public really wants is for local officials to step outside of the bounds of law and our constitutional duty and do something that we know is against the federal law and regulation just because we want to either make a statement or because we really, really hate the gondola. That is a step in the wrong direction, which I am not willing to take. So while I hear the public comment, I believe the best thing for us to do is to approve the RTP with the statement of intent, and I support the motion on that basis.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you. I will make a motion, or substitute motion, but first I'm going to make some comments. First of all, I've had the opportunity before this body and also in the Regional Growth Committee a couple times to share my love of the canyon and my opposition to the gondola. I'm not going to do that again in the interest of time, but I do have a deep love of this canyon. What I think is relevant as an elected official representing 1.2 million residents is the vast majority of people responding to the EIS process and filing comments recently are opposed. The vast majority. And I know we all take that seriously. I take that very seriously. I think that's key. I want to point out that when Mayor Zoltansky and I were first alerted to this situation, going through our documents in the meeting that day, we were going into a public comment period. And both on the Regional Growth Committee and in this body, everyone said, wait a minute, we want to move this forward. We made a similar motion to the one I'm going to make today to delist. People said, no, we need to go to the public. We need to hear from the public. What do they have to say? All we're doing is moving it forward to public comment. Well, the thought of those who wanted to move it forward, indeed, it did, you prevailed. Comments were filed and they are heavily opposed. So it was interesting that at that point in time, the move was, hey, let's listen to the public. Yet we're saying now we can't. We're bound to this legal review. We can't do it. And I appreciate Jeff and respect Jeff and know he brings a great legal mind to the table. But I went through that memo very carefully, the Stollery's memo, they're great attorneys, but we see some holes. We in our review with legal input did not find a relevant statute or regulation that states specifically that an EIS process completely overrides an MPO's, in this case, Wasatch Front's discretion when determining what should or should not be in an RTP. And RTP is our vision for the future. In the presentation, well done team. All the staff does so much good work and I value you and I appreciate all of what you've done. This is the one hang up, this project. We move forward today, this thing passes through. And I think the senator had a good point. The legislature sees it, they're not part of this body. They aren't engaged in the way that we have been with public comment. It sits there and off we go. I think that, and I've said it before, this is a great team at Wasatch Front Regional Council. We have great elected officials here. We can solve this by a meeting of the minds next week. I'll clear my schedule. I'll cancel some things. I'll sit with you. It's helpful. Let's test this. Let's not be, the point was made by the Mayor of Alta, bureaucracy over public process. I think bureaucracy is winning. And that's very disappointing to me. So I do believe that there are holes in the memo. There is a path and that we should explore that. I believe it strongly. I believe that it's important to listen in this era, as pointed out by a couple of people making comments. People are skeptical of government. When you say, file a comment, open up your computer, go find how to do it. You put the time into it. You put your heart into it sometimes. And it's like, well, guess what? We're not listening. We can't. We're bound. We're bound by a lot of legalese, a lot of process. We don't tomorrow do nothing if we were to pause today. The current projects continue. If there's some that are front burner, then we could perhaps do a modification and come back in a week or two and dial into a meeting and move those projects forward. They're in those first phase of this RTP. I fully reject the idea that we're stuck. Just don't believe it. So for that reason, and in honor of the people who have spoken today, the vast majority of people who took the time to file comments, that are the kids that are in school, who made the nice cards that we saw walking down the hall, everyone who couldn't be here, I will make a motion to remove the listing of the gondola from phase 3 and adopt all other projects in the 2023-2050 RTP and their quality memorandum.
This is Rob Daly. I'll second.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a substitute motion by Mayor Wilson. Is there a second to that?
It's Rob Daly. I'll second.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll turn to discussion. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll respectfully support the primary motion and speak against the substitute motion on a couple of facts. First off, I want to make it clear, and I think there's been some confusion in public comments, that this council has the right to appropriate money. In the past experience, I know fairly well that the appropriation comes from a couple of important committees situated on Capitol Hill, and UDOT comes and presents those budgets before funding takes place. And without that funding, I don't believe this council or committee has the authority, the authorization to appropriate that money. And it was brought up that by a senator that it was felt that maybe that some of the senators and representatives would look at this as being favorable. Well, you have 104 voices on that hill. And I can tell you from experience serving on a couple of those committees that those 104 all have different ideas of where that money should go. And they're spread across the state. And that's the way it should be. We heard from Mayor Dandoy, there's 1,000 projects out there. Believe me, those 104 senators and representatives are fighting for those funds in their districts. And to say that this would slip through the cracks, I think is entirely a misconception of what's going to happen. And again, we need to rely upon our legislative experts, the appropriation committees. I think they do a great job through the Transportation Committee in prioritization. I speak highly of UDOT, worked with them for a number of years, and they do a great job making sure that the public dollars are spent on priority basis, but those priorities are set by the legislature. This is a plan. This is an option that would go in the hands of those appropriation committees to make in the future. As a former legislator, I say we all need the options. It's our duty to give the legislature all the options, not exclude any. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any other discussion to the substitute motion? Please go ahead.
I just want to clarify, Mayor Silverstream, you said that the federal process doesn't allow for the exception in the substitute motion because the federal rulemaking is what governs the RTP process here. Was that correct?
That is correct. And that's the effect of the Stoll-Reeves legal opinion, that federal law and regulation basically require the inclusion of all regionally significant transportation projects that are subject of an EIS. And the idea here is an EIS is a far more elaborate process in evaluating projects than what we engage in as a regional or as a Metropolitan Planning Organization. So when there is an EIS, the EIS essentially stands alone, and we're not empowered under federal law to take that out. In fact, if we were to do that, Federal Highways has said they wouldn't approve our plan.
And Mayor Wilson, if I may just ask, you said that your legal counsel disagrees with that position?
So I don't have a written opinion from our district attorney, but in consultation or review by them and other legal minds, we did not find that direct link. There's precedent, there's systems, there's methods. And this is an unusual situation. I mean, there's no doubt that most of the time the process rolls out without this level of conflict. And I think that I'm willing to, as a partner, test the system, come back to approve the other elements of the plan in the process, whereby we find that happy medium. I think that one thing that evolved during this conversation is a lot of you became educated more on the gondola. So thank you for that. I know many of people now opposed who may have been on the fence, some in this room even. I feel today I'm perhaps in the minority, but I believe I stand with the majority with concerns about this. I think we're in a difficult position, clearly many with wanting to move forward and the staff ready to get going to build and do it in a good way. This is just a big community project. This isn't a little thing that rolls through our community. And I think the education's been good, but I think a testing of this, given the uniqueness of the nature, is fair at this point.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the substitute motion? All right, seeing none, let's take a vote on the substitute motion. To be clear, the substitute motion was made by Mayor Wilson and seconded by Mayor Dolly online to remove the gondola from the phase 3 of the RTP and to vote to approve everything else. Is that correct? Did I say that right, Mayor? Did I say that right? Okay. All right. We need to do a roll call vote on this. Yes. Andrea, if you would please lead us in a roll call vote on the substitute motion. I just want to make sure everybody knows what they're voting for. This is vote yes if you want to vote to remove the gondola from phase 3. No, if you do not. And if it passes, then it passes and trumps the first motion. If it does not, we will go back to the first motion and vote on that.
Mayor Ramsey,
No.
Mayor Silvestrini,
No.
Commissioner Stevenson, who's online. Commissioner Stevenson. There we go.
No.
Commissioner Perry,
No.
Mayor Petro,
No.
Mayor Shepherd,
No.
Mayor Stanger,
No.
Commissioner Newton,
No.
Mayor Palmer,
No.
Mayor Dolly,
Yes.
Mayor Walker,
No.
Mayor Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Winder Newton,
No.
Mayor Overson,
No.
Councilmember Wardle,
No.
Mayor Caldwell,
No.
Mayor Dandoy,
No.
Commissioner Farrer,
No.
Commissioner Harvey,
No.
Carlos Braceras,
No.
Carlton Christensen.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, that substitute motion fails with a vote of 19-2, taking us back to the original motion that was motioned and seconded. Want to make sure to, Oh, it's right in front of me. The motion made by Mayor Dandoy and seconded by Commissioner Stevenson was that the Wasatch Front Regional Council adopt the final phased and financially constrained 2023 through 2050 Regional Transportation Plan and approve the draft air quality memorandum number 41 conformity determination with the statement that Wasatch Front Regional Council supports prioritizing of phase 1 and 2 and implementation and evaluation of phase 1 and 2 before advancing to phase 3. That is the motion we are voting on now. All right, with that, Andrea, would you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Mayor Ramsey,
My vote is yes. And if I may, I'm going to explain my vote a little bit after we take the vote. I'll tell you why I voted the way I did, but yes, I vote to approve the regional transportation plan.
Mayor Silvestrini,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevenson,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Mayor Petro,
Yes.
Mayor Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Stanger,
Yes.
Commissioner Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Palmer,
Yes.
Mayor Dolly,
Yes.
Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Winder Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Overson,
Yes.
Councilmember Wardle,
Yes.
Mayor Caldwell,
Yes.
Mayor Dandoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Faur,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey,
Yes.
Carlos Braceras,
Yes.
Carlton Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, okay, with that, this vote to approve the regional transportation plan for the 2023 through 2050 period and approve the draft air quality memorandum number 41 conformity determination and the statement that this body, the Wasatch Front Regional Council, supports prioritizing of phase 1 and 2 and implementation and evaluation of phase 1 and 2 before advancing to phase 3 passes unanimously. If I may, I just really quickly want to mention a few things. I feel like as a body here, as elected officials, it may not feel like you've been heard, but I want you to know we have heard you. And there are certain things we can and certain things we feel like we can't do, but we have tried to come up with a way to be reflective. No one here in the audience knows who around this table might like or hate the idea of the gondola. You're not an island, I promise you that. We have a responsibility to the entire region and all of the communities and residents of the entire Wasatch Front, all 7 counties, for these over 1,000 projects. And I hope that our statement of intent to support prioritizing phase 1 and phase 2, implementing those changes that need to happen in Little Cottonwood Canyon. I love Little Cottonwood Canyon. I've lived here my entire life. I've spent a great deal of time up that canyon and I love it. I hope that as we prioritize phase 1 and phase 2 and then do an evaluation, we'll be able to see great improvements to be able to use that canyon. I think also it was mentioned that we are voting to allocate money to an enormous amount of money to a gondola. That's not what we're voting for today. We don't even have the ability to do that today. We are not voting to allocate funding toward a gondola. And one point that I would like to make clear is that so one thing that I want to make really clear is that this plan is updated every 4 years. This is a living plan, a living document. Every 4 years it's updated, and I can assure you the plan from 25 years ago does not look the same as the plan we approved today because Utah is changing and growing. It is evaluated ongoing. There are amendments that can be made. This is a living process. And with that, I'm confident that the right things can happen to help us function smoothly and provide solutions to Little Cottonwood Canyon that are appropriate and environmentally sound and will help all parties involved and help maybe alleviate some concerns about the future of that canyon, as we all want to protect the beauty of what we have here in Utah. So with that, I am going to thank everyone for this collaborative process and everything that this has entailed. And we're going to move on to our next agenda item. Next, we have a report from Transcom, our Transportation Coordinating Committee. Mayor Mark Shepard is here to give us that update. Go ahead, Mr. Shepard. Mayor Shepard.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We've got 3 items on our agenda today. Item 5A is, as you've seen in your packet, is a review of materials provided in your packets. Item 5B and 5C are action items. And so I'm going to turn the time over to Ben Worthrich to explain these items.
Good afternoon. So today, as we have the opportunity to talk about the Transportation Improvement Program, it's about as exciting as the meeting we just had, but maybe a little different excitement. So as a lot of you are aware of, there's the acronym, the TIP. The TIP stands for the Transportation Improvement Program. We are currently functioning under the 2023-2028 Transportation Improvement Program. And today on the agenda, as it's been identified by Mayor Shepard, we have 3 items. There'll be a report on the approved board modification that Transcom took back on April 27th when the Regional Council did not meet during the month of April. And so that responsibility is delegated to Transcom. Then we have before you an approval of a new board modification. And then we have the opportunity to present to you the new projects to be approved into the draft programs in preparation for the draft Transportation Improvement Program, or the 2024-2029 TIP. As all of you are aware, I hope you're all aware, we've reviewed this, but the Transportation Improvement Program is a 6-year program of highway transit and active transportation projects. It implements a long-range plan, that big discussion that we had, those 1,000 projects, all that when they give funding funneled down through the Transportation Improvement Program. It helps us meet the short-range needs along the Wasatch Front, as well as maintain our existing infrastructure. There are periodic modifications. Actually, there's modification every time we have the opportunity to meet due to the dynamics of the projects, both in scope changing and in timing and funding. So as Mayor Shepard identified in your meeting materials, that there's a signed resolution as well as 3 tables that identify those projects that were reviewed and approved by Transcom. Were there any questions on any of those projects? Mayor, is it okay to proceed? Thank you. Then before you today, we have another board modification, and in your meeting materials, there's also a resolution, and attached to that resolution is 1 table that has 3 board modifications. We'll go through each of those 3 board modifications, but also in your meeting materials, there's about 16 pages of additional projects, and we'll address those when we talk about the 3rd board modification. So the first board modification that we have, the first project is a project up in Weber County. This is a UDOT project on I-15. It's between mile point 340 and 341, which is approximately 4,100 south to 4,500 south on I-15. This project is to replace the barrier and crash curtains in this area. UDOT recently advertised this project, and it came back with the lowest bid being about 140,000 or 140% above the engineer's estimate. So the request is to add an additional $600,000 to this project, bringing the total project cost to $2.1+ million. The project team reviewed the bids, felt that it was necessary or made the request to add the additional funds, feeling that to re-advertise this project, they would not get bids that would be any better than this. So this request is for additional funding for a total project of 2.1 plus million, as I mentioned. The next project is a project in Davis County. This is also a UDOT project. This project is on our West Davis Highway. Many of you are familiar with this highway or this project. It goes from the I-15 Legacy Highway to the north to SR 193. The construction that's taking place on West Davis is amazing. There's a lot of things happening and the project's well underway. This particular request, though, is to extend the scope of that project. Now, when the environmental impact statement was completed back in 2017, it included this extension from 193 up to 1800 north. However, when it went to the 2018 Transportation Commission workshop, there were not enough funds available for that project extension. So the project limits were stopped at SR 193. However, there are funds available now for this project, and the request is to extend the project from 193 on the lower part of the screen up to 1800 north. This is approximately 2.5 miles. What this will do is construct a single lane in each direction. This was what was approved in the environmental document. The request is to change the scope to the existing project, include this extension on this project. Also to add the additional funding on this project, there's $119 million for this extension. That'll bring the total project cost up to a little more than $900 million. These funds or additional funds come through some efficiency in the TIF program on other projects, as well as new TIF funds available. The next project that we have is a project. Every year, the funding levels for the state programs are amended into the existing TIP in May. This is because the state program starts all over at the state fiscal year, which is July 1st. And so we bring before you the list of programs. Each program is, or it's program, well, that didn't make sense. I'll read it the way I wrote it, then it makes. So the modification approves the program funding levels, but each program is treated individually. And that's what you will see as we talk about the list of projects that are included. There are a lot of different projects that are included in the state programs. Everything from the system preservation programs, safety and operations, communications, the region's abilities to work with the local governments. So the request is to modify the existing 2023-2028 TIP with the new state and federal funded programs of 2024, which is about $587 million plus. And that program is the last of the three for this board modification, Mayor.
Thank you, Ben. So question for you on the West Davis. So we're a 4-lane, 2 lanes each direction up through SR 193.
Correct. Yes.
And then we will cut down to 2 lanes. Is the intention future-wise to expand that to match the rest of the corridor, or is it intended to be just 1 lane each way?
I will defer
ask Carlos.
to Director, if I may.
I'm sure Ben knows the answer better than I do. Right now, it's tying into some local roads. So right now, this is going to make it more of a logical termini based on the environmental impact statement. We've also received funding or will soon to start looking at the environmental impact statement to extend the project north. That was shown as one of the examples in the long range plan, actually.
Right.
And so we would begin that environmental process. Predicated on the outcome of that that process, that will drive what that laneage looks like going north if we justify that project.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the feasibility of it, and taking this to a 2-lane road just seems almost not worthwhile to spend $119 million to and increase it by that much to know that we're only going to turn right back around in 5 years. And
We are purchasing all the right of way to be able to expand that. But right now, the local system, you couldn't dump 2 lanes in each direction into that local system right now.
right. And that's my questioning. Is it justifiable then at that point to connect it up to 1800 in lieu of just waiting? And I just know with the, as far as where our funds are going, with 1800 North, we're looking at that and saying, okay, well, we're not quite sure we have the funding to completely do 1800 North and purchase all the property all the way down. We're dumping everything we have remaining into 5600 to make sure that project happens right now. And it's kind of been a pushing 1800 interchange down the, kicking that down the road for other EIS issues. And I really hate to look at that and say, well, let's go ahead and commit another $119 million into the West Davis corridor, into a 2-lane road that really isn't going to do what it probably really needs to up at that end until we, take it to a 4-lane.
Yeah, we believe it will do what it needs to do now and for the next 5 to 10 years. But that's
So I'm bringing this as the mayor of Clearfield that's been looking at 650 North and being told, we're going to keep this, and this is a 5-year project. We're putting a 5-year Band-Aid on your project. And then being told, we don't have funding to take out 650 North and redo that interchange which is the entrance to Hill Air Force Base, and saying, well, no, we're pushing that down the road a little more. We hope that 1800 fixes that, but we don't know. And we're not sure that will, but we hope that alleviates 650 North. And so in the meantime, we're going to push traffic to the west on 1800 North to a 2-lane road that doesn't quite work. Yeah, I just have, I have a huge problem with that one, just because we're not fixing the problems before we're jumping on to problem number 2. And I think we're really taking this one too soon. I think we've got other issues that we need to fix before we get to that point. So, we need a motion on this one.
Thank you, Carlos.
and I hesitate to make that motion without, to include that one. If my motion would be that we approve that, taking out that extension of the West Davis corridor.
Mayor Shepherd, can I ask just for a clarification?
Sure.
Are you asking for a separate vote so that we would have a vote on everything except that, and then there could be a vote on that project separately? Is that what you're saying?
No, I was just motioning to approve there's 3 projects on the 2023-2028 tip. And I would eliminate the one at this point in time. That would be my motion.
Can I ask a question? Yes. I know that it's, not up for discussion, but I would like to hear from, I know the West, Mayor Stanger was on the line. I'd be curious what his thoughts are as well, because this would impact his area.
Okay, just for a protocol question, do we need to have a second to that motion before we have discussion? I believe we do.
We'd need
I
a
think
second.
so. Really quickly, before Mayor Stinger, before you weigh in, is there a second to the motion?
So I'll second that motion.
Okay.
And then ask
Okay,
for
and now
Mayor
go ahead and ask
Stanger
your
to
question.
comment.
My apologies if I get cut off. It's because the flight attendants say don't talk during a flight. But I'm with Mayor Shepherd. It's definitely a larger problem. We're going to have so much traffic using that highway. It really does need to be 2 lanes. Of course, I'm in favor of 1 lane if there's no lanes, but I think that if there's anything that can be done to expedite that 2.5 miles, it does give that many more roads for that traffic to disperse on. So again, my point would be is one's better than none, but it really, I think, should be looked at as a 2-lane road. It just is, that's the most growth anywhere in Davis County right now, is that west section.
And so I look at that, UDOT is at this point in time, when we approved this as part of, well, a couple months ago, to take 2000 west, and it's being expanded from 800 north, 800 north south, it's already 4 lanes, 800 north, it's only 2. And that is being expanded before, which should give us that capacity to get us down to 193, which would then take us out to the corridor and put us pretty close. So that's my explanation or reasoning for my motion.
Okay. If you'll forgive me, because I don't live close to that specific project, I'm just really, I can't even picture it necessarily. So anybody else have any additional thoughts to that? Carlos, do you mind weighing in at all? Do you have any additional thoughts about this?
Well, obviously, I am not in support of the motion. The Transportation Commission has gone through the prioritization process. This is a project that already has an approved environmental impact statement and has a lot of legislative support for doing this project. And so this is just the continuation, trying to get back to a project that we were not able to finish. And so if this is taken off, as part of it, if it's not part of the tip, then we will go back and reallocate the money to Utah County, maybe.
I have no response to that. That's funny. Okay. Commissioner
I
Frower,
only-
and then I
Oh,
think
sorry.
Mayor Silvestrini, and then Mayor Wilson. Is that okay? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, and I'd have to agree with Carlos on that. It doesn't make a lot of sense if the Transportation Commission has already approved that. And again, that's up to the citizens in that area. It's not in my district, but I would obviously take one rather than have that allocated to especially Utah County.
So if the planners and engineers on the Transcom committee approve this project, though, I mean, is this part of their recommendation?
Ben?
But they approved this project, this segment of this project was approved by the Transcom.
Yes. Oh, hold it, by Transcom. No, sorry, this is brand new. This is a new project to this body.
But was it considered by the Transcom Technical Advisor? Was it discussed
So, I
by
mean,
the
is the
Transcom
did the
Technical
TAC
Advisory Committee? I think that's
No.
what Mayor Silvestrini is asking.
We do not bring this to the TAC committees. When there's a board modifications
Okay.
outside of our programs, they come directly either to the regional council or to Transcom. If it's our programs that you're responsible for, we start from the tax or technical advisory committees and bring it all the way up through.
So Ben, this is state funding for this, that's being talked about for this project?
Yes, these
TIP,
are
so Transportation
funds.
Investment Fund funding.
correct.
Okay, and from the TIF. Okay.
Okay, Mayor Wilson, and then
I just wanted to thank Mayor Shepherd for not leaving me as the only one causing trouble with UDOT and Wasatch Front today. That's all.
It is really odd to chair the committee and then say, you know what, I really don't like it. You
Yeah.
know, but it's,
and to
I want you-
potentially create a sideline headline that says money's being taken out of Davis County and going to Utah County. It's possible. You never know. Who knows?
okay, I was okay because Shara left, so we're
And,
okay.
and Mayor Wilson, from my point of view, you're never a troublemaker. You're passionate about it, and I appreciate your passion. And so, yeah, we're not holding that against you.
Go ahead, Carlton.
Well, if it's not inappropriate, I was going to make a substitute motion that we approve the proposal as presented.
Okay. We have a substitute motion to approve the proposal as presented. Is there a second on that motion?
Lee Perry from Blocks It Up, second it.
I can speak to that if
Go ahead.
And I'm certainly sensitive to Mayor Shepherd's concern. I would guess that UDOT has acquired right-of-ways beyond one lane. And at some point, speaking to the EIS, that went through its public process and that's what it allows. And so you have some limitations there without going back and redoing that. And I imagine at some point in the near future, that process will take its place. But for me, the persuasive aspect was Mayor Stenger pointing out when asked, is one better than zero? And, his comment that it would help alleviate some of that concern, probably not enough. And I imagine at some point that issue is going to have to be addressed probably sooner than later. But I think these processes aren't very fast. And so, being able to move forward is an important piece of that.
I'd say to clarify just a little on Mayor Stanger's comment is really the connection between 2000 West and the corridor. That adding the lane out there will, that's a great thing. Where it will add congestion and problems to his city is the extension from there. It is a 2-lane road. And so to say, well, now there's another entrance to West Davis corridor 1.5 miles down the road, but there's only a 2-lane road to get there. And then it's a 2-lane road until you get to 193, where it finally becomes a 4-lane road. I think we're caused a problem before we need it.
Is there any other discussion about the substitute motion? Go ahead.
I got a question. I don't know if it's for Carlos or someone, but I'm curious about the delisting of on the RTP and then the EIS process around this TID, I guess. Like, is there an EIS process that overrides this decision?
So there's a difference between the TIP and the long-range plan.
Okay.
And so we certainly had enough discussion, I think, around the long-range plan. But it's the Wasatch Front Council's prerogative in terms of what projects you're going to approve as part of the TIP. And so even though this was part of an approved environmental document, if this body did not want to approve that project, it cannot move forward. Because for projects to move forward in the urbanized area, it takes approval of the MPO, the Transportation Commission, and Federal Highway Administration. It's a 3-legged stool, and all have to agree for those projects to move forward.
Difference because of the phase. The TIP is a different thing than an
This is a project that we're talking about here. The long-range plan basically identifies problems. Then the environmental documents identify the solutions to those problems. That's really the way you have to think about the long-range plan. It's identifying what those problems that we're trying to solve are.
Yeah, since I still have the mic, I'm going to make a comment. I think one thing I learned about this process, and Andrew's not going to like this, but the Wasatch Front Regional Council does incredible work and we support it. But as we get more and more, less land, more infrastructure, I do think that us as members having a voice and saying red alert is pretty important. I don't know enough about this project, but I want to honor the local voice in this process. I don't know where it's going to take us, but I do want to be risk supporting if I'm going to say that on the other vote. So I'm going to back you up on this one.
I appreciate the question and the clarification because I wondered the same thing. I thought, I don't know the difference between how the EIS applies here and different. I didn't know the difference either. Yeah. So thank you for that clarifying question. Any other comments on the substitute motion? To be clear, the substitute motion is to approve the recommendation as it stands with all 4 projects.
3.
3 with 3. Okay, as presented. If there's no other discussion, Mayor Stenger. Yeah, please go ahead. It does. Mayor Stenger, did you have a question or comment? Okay. All right. If not, are we doing a roll call vote on this? Seems to be the flavor of the day. So why don't we just do that on all of them? We'll just be consistent that way and do that.
Mayor Ramsey.
To clarify, this is for the substitute motion.
This is for the substitute motion to approve this as presented with all 3 projects. Correct? Okay.
Mayor Ramsey.
It's a hard vote for me because I still feel like I don't know quite enough. I mean, just being honest about that, but I'm going to vote because of the process that's gone forth. I'm going to vote yes. on the substitute, yes. Aye.
Mayor Silvestrini,
For the same reasons, yes.
Commissioner Stevenson, okay, no longer on. Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Mayor Petro,
One's better than none. Yes.
Mayor Shepherd,
No.
let's see, Mayor Stanger, may have to move past him too. Commissioner Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Palmer,
Yes.
Mayor Dolly, Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
No.
Councilmember Winder Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Overson,
Yes.
Councilmember Wardle,
Yes.
Mayor Caldwell,
Yes.
Mayor Dandoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Faur,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey. Okay. Carlos Braceras
Yes.
and Carlton Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the substitute motion passes. And we love Clearfield and we love, we do.
We're good.
16-2 vote.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ben. We'll go back to number 5C now.
Awesome. Can I propose next meeting, I go before long range plan?
I will tell you, Ben, I made that suggestion here to Mayor Caldwell. I said, I looked at the agenda and I would have put all of this other stuff first.
It could have put maybe everyone to sleep and then that would have
Right.
gone through fast too. But
Your request is duly noted, Ben.
thanks. So now the exciting opportunity here on 5C is where we get to present to you the draft projects that were identified through this past process to be included in the draft programs of the STP or the Surface Transportation Program, the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program or CMAQ, the Transportation Alternative Program or TAP funds, and the Carbon Reduction Program or the CRP. And that's the brand new program this year. So as you'll recall, generally in August, we come before this body for your direction to go out, submit, or to request letters of intent. Those letters of intent go out the latter part of August, 1st of September, and they go to all the local governments, UTA and UDOT. We request that letter of intent to submit a concept report. Very basic document, essentially the name, a brief description, and an estimated cost. That allows staff to kind of gauge. It also enables us opportunities to converse with the project sponsor, the potential project sponsor. And then we request project concept reports or evaluation reports or applications. Those are due back to us in December. Then we begin our evaluation process in January, February, March. And then that brings us to this body as we've gone through all of the other committees with those draft projects. And so what we have in our evaluation process is we get the letters of intent, the concept reports, the field reviews, and that provides us with a lot of data that we bring, but we also have other relevant professional considerations. That provides us the information so that we can bring to the tax to enable them to make a recommendation on the projects that'll best fit and to utilize the limited funds that we have available. They make that to Transcom. Transcom reviews and makes that recommendation to the council. So we're here to you today to bring that information. So up in the Ogden-Layton urban area, we had 55 total projects that were submitted in concept reports. Those projects' total cost was over $387 million. There were 27 STP projects requesting more than 89 million. 10 projects in the CMAQ program asking more than 14.8 million. 8 in the TAP program requesting more than 7 million. and 10 in the CRP program, asking more than 14.8 million. In the Salt Lake area, we had 70 projects, and those 70 projects totaled more than $595 million. 33 of them were from STP, requesting 148 million plus, 14 in CMAQ, requesting almost 53 million, 10 in the TAP, requesting almost 19 million, and 13 in the CRP program, asking 37 plus million. A lot of needs. And this isn't all of the projects that were necessary, but these were the ones that we had for our evaluation. So we went through, we gathered all the data, and that data we combined in those tables that are included in your meeting materials. There's the STP program, there's the CMAQ program, there's the TAP program, and then there's the CRP program. Those projects then also based upon other professional relevant considerations or relevant professional considerations, with all the data, with the field reviews and all the other information, we went through with the TAC committees and made recommendations for those projects to move forward. All this information was presented to Transcom. Transcom reviewed it and are making the recommendation to the regional council for your approval to enter into the draft programs. So in the STP programs, there were 7 projects recommended in the Ogden-Layton area, 10 projects recommended in the Salt Lake West Valley urban area. You can see the totals, but we have a summary of the projects. 7 projects in the Ogden-Layton urban area totaling more than $11 million. And then we had the 10 projects in the Salt Lake West Valley urban area totaling $26.9 million. Just to show you maybe a flavor of what those projects we were looking at, here's a project up in Far West. Now this is on an intersection that has some significant challenges, both vertical and horizontal in the geometry of the intersection. But this improvement would create a uniform cross-section on the 4 legs of intersection, curb gutter sidewalk improvements, as well as a roundabout for controlling through that intersection. There's also a safe routes to school with the improvements of the sidewalk. This project was submitted, reviewed by the TAC, looked at on the field review, brought to Transcom. The funds being requested were 2.4 plus million, and it was recommended that we program 2.4 million for this project to move forward. Now in the CMAQ program, we had 4 projects in the Ogden-Layton area totaling more than $5.3 million. In the Salt Lake, there was 5 projects totaling more than 11 million available. And here's the list of those projects that were identified. The 4 in the Ogden-Layton area, the 5 in the Salt Lake West Valley area. And here's an example of one of those projects. This particular project is actually an intersection that is between Sandy and Draper City. They split the intersection. What this project will do, will construct on the east leg and the west leg dual lefts to move the traffic through that intersection so the stacking lane isn't so long, doesn't cause so much congestion through the area. The project estimated cost was $3.6 million. The request was $3.3 plus million, bringing it through all those committees we mentioned. It was recommended that we fund this project to the 3.3 plus million. Well, then we move in and we look at the transportation alternative programs. This is a program that enables us to look at more recreation type improvements, safe routes to school, bike routes, sidewalks, other improvements. We had 4 projects in the Ogden-Layton area, 5 projects in the Salt Lake West Valley area. Here's a list of looking at the ones in the Ogden-Layton area. Those projects total up to more than $2.8 million. That's a much more money. That sounded good, didn't it? That's a lot more money than what we've had in the past to program. But we were able to program the 2.8 plus in the Salt Lake area. We had 5 projects and we're able to program 3.4 million plus. And to maybe look at a project that we're looking at here, this is a project in Layton City. This particular project will extend, it's Davis-Weber Canal Trail Phase 1, but what it does is it actually extends the Davis-Weber Canal Trail. And look at all the connections there to the Weber State University Davis campus, Northridge High School, Layton's Midtown, mixed use urban. So we reviewed this, went through all of those committees, went on the field review, looked at all of the possible benefits. Requested was 327 plus, and it was recommended 327 plus thousand. The last program, you're welcome. No, it wasn't me. The last program, carbon reduction program, the CRP funds. This is exciting. This is a new program that was identified in the IIJA. We had 3 projects recommended in the Ogden-Layton area, 3 projects recommended in the Salt Lake West Valley area. Now, here's a list of those projects. Everything from electric vehicle charging, roundabout improvements to a trail improvements, signal optimization, protected trails, and on-route charging. Well, that's what we're gonna look at how cool this is. We all know that UTA is working on to acquire more electric buses. But we need those electric charging locations strategically put through the valley so it doesn't limit the use of those electric buses. So after reviewing this information, taking it through all the committees that we did, the funds being requested was 2.7 million. 1.5 million was what was recommended out of the CRP program. But the remaining amount was programmed in the CMAQ program. So we used our programs to tie things together to make the projects happen. And so those are the programs and the projects. Those are the projects for the programs that are before you right now for your approval. Then we can prepare the draft 24-29 tip.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any questions or comments?
So what you're telling me is the carbon reduction program is another new acronym that is here to stay, right?
Yes, if you look at
Okay,
that, it's
just
the
making
STIP,
sure.
the CMAQ, the TAP, and the, we're just gonna leave that there.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. No, that was fantastic. I'm just
I
making
think
sure.
we're gonna fall behind if we only have one new acronym a meeting.
That's
We
right.
better-
Are there any questions?
Mayor Shepherd, Mayor Stanger. I think in the South Ogden project, it listed Redwood Road, and the coordinates I don't think map Redwood Road in South Ogden.
I did have that same question. I didn't realize there was a Redwood Road in South Ogden. And if there's not, then that
I
is
think it
written.
might be listed wrong.
Okay, I saw that too.
We'll review that. What was that on?
Couple slides back. The Weber County projects.
Is
The
this,
bank in
is
that-
the idea that it is an extension of, but it's called something different, or is it actually just a mislabeling? Ben?
There it is right there. I'll double check, but I think that was the name of the project, but let me double check.
Mike, Wayne, Mike.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry, I believe that's supposed to be Adams Avenue in South Ogden.
Oh, yeah.
Apologize for the clerical error.
Oh, good catch. That was my fault.
Way to go, Brandon, on an
Yeah,
airplane.
that
He
was well
catches that.
done. Yeah.
I mean, he's talking on an airplane and breaking the law, but forget about that part. At least he clarified.
Thank you.
It's actually
Awesome.
a plot to move the money to Salt Lake County.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we approve the addition of the new projects that have been reviewed and recommended by Transcom in these 4 programs.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
That motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, I'm just going to call for a vote of acclamation. All in favor of approving these projects, please say aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Any opposed, please say aye. Say nay. Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chairman. That
Yeah,
concludes
thank
my
you.
report.
Madam Chair, can I just very briefly note appreciation for Ben and the team, along with UDOT and UTA and all of the city and county folks who worked very, very hard. Also, the RTP got a lot more attention at this meeting. But putting all of this program and identifying these projects takes a ton of work going all over the region, visiting every project site, working with all of the local communities. And I want to acknowledge that collaboration and effort as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Mayor. All right.
And-
Budget Committee, Mayor Caldwell.
Okay, thank you. We are a little behind schedule, so I'll be fast with this. We met earlier this month and I'm bringing one action item and one informational item to the council. First up, we have a public hearing and action to approve the fiscal year 24 WFRC goals, budget, and unified planning work program. Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to open a public hearing to discuss the WFRC fiscal year 24 goals, budget, and unified planning work program.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, we will now open the public hearing to approve the fiscal year, to discuss approving fiscal year 24 WFRC goals, budget, and unified planning work program. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council?
Madam Chair, I just want to say a public comment to thank the Budget Committee for their work on this. Do a great job all the time, and you know, it's thankless work. So working with numbers.
I'll pass that along to the staff. So just to go through a couple of quick things, because I do very little of that. I just help facilitate the meeting and look over that. In your packets are the draft fiscal year 24 WFRC goals, budget, and unified planning work program that outline the activities that WFRC plans to undertake in the fiscal year 2024. They're prepared by staff in coordination with the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee is recommending that the council approve the fiscal year 24 WFRC goals, budget, and unified work plan or planning work program. And we'll ask Andrew to briefly summarize those the 24 goals, and then ask Marion to summarize the budget.
Thank you, Mayor Caldwell, Mr. Chair. And we are going to be very brief here with the understanding that anybody who ever has any questions or comments about the goals or the budget, we are always here to talk to you and provide information. Having transparency and accountability in the work that we do and the way we utilize public funds is critical to us. But given the hour, we're going to be very brief. I'm just going to note that we have 4 primary goals that this group has identified. These are the same goals that you considered back in March. We talked about these. They were put out for public comment, and we're back. There's no changes to them, so I'm not going to go into any detail other than just note the 4 top line goals. You see number 1, collaboratively advance the Wasatch Choice vision as a framework for integrating transportation, land use, and economic development to best address growth related opportunities and challenges. And I'll note it's our expectation that the next council meeting, we're going to have more focus on the broader vision. A lot of transportation today, broader vision as we go forward. Second, effectively administer our ongoing plans and programs. We talked a lot about that today. Third, provide subject matter expertise to federal, state, and local officials and policymakers. That's you. That's engaging in the legislative process also. And then fourth, of course, strive for organizational excellence, which includes the budget and the transparency and making sure that our terrific staff is both productive and happy. That's our goal. Mr. Chair, that's all I've got on the goals, and we could turn to Marion for brief comments on the budget if you would like.
Absolutely. I agree. And it does dovetail with our goal number 4 here for our transparency. And I believe there was a sentence that said maintain budget stability. So that is what we are here to do. The budget presented today remains virtually unchanged from the one that we looked at in March. And so that was reviewed in March by the Budget Committee and by the Council. 2 weeks ago, the Budget Committee reviewed the final draft of the budget in conjunction with the proposed work program and goals for FY24. So the workflow is that we work on this unified planning work program and goals, and all of those are the projects that then we identify funding for in the budget. As usual, our proposed budget represents new and ongoing projects and the related federal, state, and local funding that we anticipate for the coming year. As we pointed out in March, the consulting line is the part that goes up and down the most, reflecting the completion this time of the household travel survey and the many ongoing projects such as station area planning, safe streets for all, and the transportation and land use connection projects. I'm happy to answer any questions, but the main message is that it's unchanged since March.
Thank you. Before I turn to questions, we'll see if there's anybody here from the public that would like to speak to this.
This might be my one opportunity to speak with you, so I'm going to take it. My name's Teresa Bramwell. I am born and raised in Utah, originally from Ogden, still own real estate in Ogden. Currently, I live in Salt Lake City because my home in Ogden was burned twice. Ogden is on fire, and I've been coming to these meetings to find out why. My home is within 100 feet of your BRT bus line. And I'm just here to find out what the plan is. I've got a burned down house. The bakery next door is burned down. The 2 apartment buildings on the corner also had fires. So there's just a lot of structure fires going on. The old buildings that have been there for 100 years are burning down by the masses, and nobody's told any of the property owners what the plan is. Is there a plan? Am I supposed to be complying with your plan? I also want to own a property in Ogden Canyon that I've been asking for months and months and months and months if there is a trail or a gondola or any of these things happening. I've received no answers. So as a member of the public, I would like some answers as to how this applies to me and how I fit in with your plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there anyone else here in person that would like to speak to this public hearing? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone online? If so, please raise your hand.
Being
Okay.
no further public comment, I'd move that we close the public hearing.
We have a motion. Can I get a second? We've got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will close the public hearing on this. All right, turning to the council, are there any additional questions, discussion? Questions you have for Marion or Andrew? Laura?
I just have one question. So I'm looking at the budget and I see the local government administrative advisor in there and the statewide SEDS funding that the governor's office of planning and budget was able to provide. Where does the planning technical assistance fall within these line items?
Oh, it's under the dedicated project funds, and that's part of our local funding that we use. So I can show you in detail, but yeah, so we haven't called those out as a specific
It's lumped
program.
within, yeah.
Yes, it's part of our dedicated
Okay.
project, and that is
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure it was included.
absolutely included. And I agree that that dedicated project is a little bit of a catch-all bucket, but what it does do is it shows up in another place, which I'm totally happy to show you. But yes, thanks for the question.
Thanks, Marion.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions?
I just say thanks to Laura and the governor's office for their support and partnership.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. All right. Seeing none.
With
Go back
that,
to you.
I would, being the chair of the budget committee, I'd like to thank the staff and everyone else. Andrew and I have had some salty conversations over the years. I've been on this committee for 12 years now over budgets and transparency and accountability. And I want to thank you and your entire staff for everything that you've done to provide both transparency and accountability for all the dollars that are spent and for the long-term forecasting and everything else. So I really do appreciate everything that you guys have done for this. Thank you very much for that.
Can I just clarify that the salty conversations Mayor Caldwell is referring to?
They came
I
from me,
believe-
not him.
I believe are him saying, make sure you do your budget stuff well, right? And we've said, yes, sir. Is that fair to say?
Sure, there'd be a ground and pound in the parking lot if you didn't, but you've done a phenomenal job with that. Your staff has done a great job with that.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
And I do feel there has been a tremendous amount of transparency and accountability from this organization. So with that, I'd make a motion that the council approve the fiscal year 24 goals, budget, and unified planning work program as proposed.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you.
Okay, up next to reflect that, we have the fraud risk assessment for fiscal year 23. Okay, I'll go into that. WFRC has completed its annual assessment of fraud risk. We remain in the optimal category, which is very low risk because of our robust internal controls, trained staff, careful policies, and transparent structure and processes. Just say this assessment and accompanying memo are available in your packets and your review prior to the required submission to the Utah State Auditor. Anything to add? Okay, so again, congratulations to the staff for that fraud risk assessment. You can't get much more clear than that. And we again are grateful for all the work and dedication you guys have put into this. So thank you all very much. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone on the Budget Committee and all the staff. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Frower, bringing us an update from the Economic Development District.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the interest of time, I'll try to be very brief here. I know that some people would like to get home, including myself. So the Economic Development District did meet in March, this past March. It seems like a long time ago. I first want to give recognition to Marcia White, who is our director from the WFRC. She does a great job of making sure the committee's informed in the direction we're headed, along with Andrew Gruber. We have a great selection in this committee. We have a composite of some public officials, some private individuals that deal every day with the issues that we talk about, which is economic development. The first speaker we heard from this past March was Ginger Chin, who you may know is with the Salt Lake Chamber. She did a great job of bringing us up to date on some of the legislative issues that took place during that session that ended in March. I think the theme that came out of that legislative session is pretty well known. It was preparing Utah for growth. And I think that's what this committee really addresses is how do we balance the growth? And Laura Hanson does a great job with the governor's office. How do we balance economic growth and economic growth on the same page with those people that would like to see the kids have jobs, but are very opposed to new development, new roads coming in their community. So it's a balancing act that without the private sector involved, we wouldn't have the success we have. And without the vision from WFRC that we can bring to those communities, I think Laura's group is bringing through the cities. I think that over the next several years, we'll see some significant changes, hopefully for the positive. The other person we heard from was Ryan Starks, who is the GOYO director, the newly appointed GOYO director. He talked about the economic development along the Wasatch Front, which included the MIDA projects, Hill Air Force Base, a number of those. Hill Air Force Base with MIDA, we know is expanding at a very rate. Mayor Dandoid from Roy would probably agree with that. The industrial development we see happen in northern Utah as well as Point of the Mountain. The last thing that I'll point out is the comprehensive economic development plan or strategy is expected to be completed by June. Well, the first draft would be in June. It's presented sometime to this committee in the third quarter of this year. So Marcia again's worked very hard on that SIDS project. We're looking forward to the results of that. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, Mayor Walker, our Active Transportation Committee report.
Well, it's great to report to you from the Active Transportation Committee. I will be quick. A delegation of 20 went to the Bicycle Capital of America, Davis, California, and it was awesome. We learned a lot of things about their long-established bicycling culture and their ubiquitous bicycle parking that is safe and convenient. We also learned about the way they've developed their codes and ordinances to improve biking and making it safe and convenient. The Golden Spoke ride happened again this year, 300 participants. There was a network of trails that spanned from Ogden to Provo, as you know, which makes up the Golden Spoke. This year, there were other rides that were held in honor of ended at Farmington Park that were in honor of the Denver and Rio Grande Western Trail, which is celebrating its 20th year. And the Utah Bike Summit is being held Wednesday, May 31st from 2 to 5, and the focus will be on the impacts of e-bikes in Utah. Recommend that you go attend that or look at it at bikeutah.org. That's my report.
I'm going to ride my e-bike to that.
I'm going to try to work ubiquitous into a sentence soon.
It was written for me and I just had to use it. And I do want to say this was Caldwell's last ride. So in Davis, he came. It was his last one. So.
Well, he will be missed. Right?
He will.
Yes, Mayor, we will miss you greatly. Yeah, you've done a lot of great work here for the last 12 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Walker, thank you for your report. Appreciate it. All right, Andrew Gruber, turning it to you for our Executive Director's report.
Thank you. This will only take 20 to 30 minutes. Just kidding, just kidding. Just very briefly, I have a slide that is going to be shown. I have some cool staff related news. First, I'll note that we've been added. We again, WFRC got the Silver Bicycle Friendly Business or Organization Award. That comes with having our office be in a place that's multimodal and accessible to all. And I won't take a show of hands, but I'm sure several of our staff rode their bikes here today. So nice work. Next, let's see, where is it? Oh, at the bottom right there. See, that's Bert Granberg, the director of our analytics group, who is sitting out there comfortably. This is really cool. Bert was appointed to the National Geospatial Advisory Committee from the Department of Interior. We have folks that do highly technical work that are nationally recognized and engaged. And I'm looking at the audience and seeing several of our staff members who do this type of thing. And he was appointed to this limited committee, a national advisory committee around all things related to GIS and geospatial issues. So it's a great recognition of his knowledge and his ability and experience. So nice work, Bert. And then the last thing is I'd like to introduce you to our 3 interns that we have this summer. Are they all here? Okay, so Lila Rosenfield is working in our analytics group. Luis Garcia in our community and economic development group, right over there. And Jerison Atkin in our long range planning group. We have a terrific group of interns. They're already engaged and contributing, and we hope that they learn a lot and take good stuff forward. So to our interns, welcome. We're very happy to have you. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Sometimes I feel bad, right? At the end of all of these meetings, the executive director report, he's lucky to get 30 seconds, but it's like that everywhere, right? I feel kind of bad that we're like,
Don't feel bad, it's
yeah,
fine.
shortchange you all the
Wait,
time.
do you want me to take 10 more minutes
No,
right
no.
now?
No,
Okay,
that
I'm
was well
fine.
done. That was well done. No, it was great. And please join me in congratulating Bert. That's very cool.
I will, because you opened the door, say one more thing,
Okay.
and that is thank you. Sincerely, not only because this is a long meeting, but these are tricky issues that we deal with. It's just the future of our community. And I just want to express so much appreciation for all of you that engage in this work and lead in this work, even when we don't agree. We're all working for the same interest to preserve and promote great quality of life in our region. So thank you to all of you.
Ditto. And Madam Chair, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. What are we going to do without you? Somebody
can
else is
second
going to
it.
have to take that lead and be the Caldwell of adjourning. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.